Peace and blessings, everybody. This is Unplugem Jack. I'm here with my man Jay, Fini Dolo from GorillaShark. We're down here in the lab with my main man, just getting some good energy from some of these creative works of art that my brother puts together. And we wanted to continue on the Detroit ritual sacrifice video. We wanted to show and prove that there is indeed a death rebirth ritual, a order out of chaos ritual being performed on a whole city. You guys, we've all heard about people taking out their loved ones and mysterious deaths of family and friends as sacrifice.
A lot of rapes, a lot of stuff I haven't been used to here. I don't care how bad they say it is. There's been some crazy stuff out of the normal Detroit mentality.
Without a doubt.
Like out of towners coming here doing shit.
Without a doubt. For some reason, the energy, the negative energy has been ramped up in our city, and I maintain that it has to do with a grand ritual. And before we left off, on the last video, we were talking about Transformers and the street signs. The street signs in the Transformers movie. First of all, what are street signs? Who is on street signs? Most people who get their name on a street sign are made men, parts of the brotherhood. And if you're talking about the downtown area, we did the research and found out that our downtown area was designed off of Pierre L'Enfant's design of Washington, D.C. The same way. We've got a pentagram as well.
Exactly, yeah, just like it.
So if that's the case, and then you figure this is the area where they chose to shoot this battle. Now, it might sound like child's play to you guys at first, Transformers kids toy, but the Transformers itself is a metaphor. They are giant. They are not from Earth. They come from the heavens. They come down to Earth. And they can take the form of other things in order to deceive man, shapeshifters, if you will.
So, actually, not to cut you out, but they did take the form of Earth vehicles.
Yeah, without a doubt. And then even when we was growing up, you had some that were other than vehicles.
Yeah.
So the whole premise is like Decepticons. They are able to change their shape and deceive man. And that's what a lot of us are now learning about the fallen angels, the Nephilim, who we find to be behind all of these secret societies. In reality, they worship these fallen beings. So, the battle of the fallen beings, remember they went as far in the next Transformers, the second or third one, as to call it Return of the Fallen.
I think that was the second one.
That was the second one?
Yeah.
So, they went off into the fallen theology. Even with that, to show and prove that they were making a connection themselves with the movie. So now you have this battle in Detroit. So this is a battle, it's symbolic of a spiritual battle being waged in Detroit between the angelic beings.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we've also discovered this. I've got a couple of videos up on the Spirit of Detroit, which is another iconic statue here, maybe right behind the Renaissance, the most important one. My brother Jay is going to go grab a shirt to kind of give you guys a visual image of what we're talking about.
Well, our visual image.
Well, yeah, it's a stylized version, but it's nonetheless an image of the Spirit of Detroit. And I maintain that the Spirit of Detroit is indeed Prometheus. Prometheus is nothing but, and I know you guys that have been to the city or have seen some highlights from the Tigers game or something like that, by now you're somewhat familiar with the Prometheus statue downtown off of Woodward and Jefferson.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it is to represent Prometheus. Now, in the actual representation downtown, we have in this hand, we have the light, because Lucifer is the light bringer, Lucifer. Lucy meaning light, fair to ferry or carry. And in the other hand, there's a family. And Lucifer is looking down at the family as the family is reaching up to him in worship on the actual statue downtown. It's known to everybody as the Spirit of Detroit.
And break your eyes down.
Huh?
I said break your eyes down so they won't be confused.
Oh, well, this was an artistic representation of the Spirit of Detroit.
The state that we in right now.
Right, this is the state that we're in right now. And if the Spirit of Detroit is indeed Prometheus, which is a metaphor for Lucifer, then you have the higher-ups, the powers that be, the brotherhood members who run the city, whose names bear the names of our city streets. These people are telling us that the Spirit of Detroit is Lucifer. So this is why you have all of this violence, all this destruction, so much death being spoken on our city. Alex Jones, who many have now found to be a provocateur, And there's lots of video on YouTube showing and proving that Alex is not 100 anymore, if he ever was. Alex Jones has done an expose on Detroit called Bankrupt, Decayed, and Nearly Dead. 24 facts about the city of Detroit that were shocking. Speaking death again on the city. And we know Alex Jones is a geek up artist. You know, his whole job is to geek up certain issues and suppress others. And he's geeking up the death of Detroit as well. So we talked about RoboCop 2 briefly. Anybody familiar with RoboCop 2, you can find the old Detroit, new Detroit theory through all of the movies.
Yeah, talking about old Detroit, new Detroit back then.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
And now there's even a city group. There's a community-based group. It's really a bunch of entrepreneurs and brotherhood and sisterhood members who call themselves New Detroit. And New Detroit is behind buying up a lot of properties around the city, revitalizing a lot of businesses, taking over. And once again, if we get a white mayor or a black mayor or a purple mayor, Chinese mayor, it wouldn't matter if the job is done to the satisfaction of the people and for the interest of the people who actually live here. Detroit is 80-something% black. And there's a lot of black and white play going on here in the city. They keep a lot of racial tension up. The Eminem 8 Mile white rapper from the blackest city thing has kept a lot of tension up. And I believe that they're going to eventually use that tension for something. But before we get too far off of the point, you know, in another video we're going to go down through the checkerboard effect, the black and white thing, what that really means. But while we're on the subject, and to stay with the subject of the Detroit Ritual Sacrifice, we're going to look at a John Carpenter film, briefly, They Live. They Live starred Roddy Piper and Keith David. Keith David plays a character from Detroit who moves to this town where he and Roddy Piper end up trying to find work. Now, you know, for those of you who are familiar with the film, you know the rest. But just to zero in on the Detroit part, Keith David explains to Roddy Piper while they're up on the hill having lunch how he left Detroit because they were closing down all of the steel mills.
Yeah, wasn't no work.
You know, wasn't no work. And how, you know, when the big bankers needed to bail out, the government came in and gave it to them, but it wouldn't bail out the regular people. Well, the bailout didn't actually happen until 2007 or 2008. You know, they actually did do a bailout. How John Carpenter was privy to the fact that the factories were closed, which they were not closed when the movie came out.
There was plenty of jobs when the movie came out.
Plenty of jobs.
People were still coming out of high school working at the plant.
That's right. So that was a primitive scene in a movie. Lots of movies have primitive scenes where they're putting premonition in the scene, you know, from one point of view, but in reality, what all they're trying to do is program your mind to get used to what's going to happen, what they're going to do. And so They Live is another great example of that, where you find Detroit in play and black and white in play. The long fight scene with Roddy Piper and Keith David, I maintain, is all about the racial issue. And how the racial issue is nothing but something that's concocted by a third party. If you
That was a long scene, man.
Yeah.
Now think about it.
Extra long, wasn't it?
That's the longest fight scene they had in the movie.
and that long scene was to bring the point home. It was a metaphor for the long, drawn-out fight between black and white, and how there's really a third party involved that keeps us fighting at odds. Now, this is the town that it's in. Detroit is also called the Renaissance City. Renaissance is a French word that means rebirth. Once again, the death and rebirth ritual. Red Dawn was a shot here, and Red Dawn, of course, had to do with martial law. I maintain that the reason that they're rebirthing the city is because they're going to need the city for some things for the North American Union. This is a key city. It's a border city, and it's a city that's a staple for industry. So why kill it? Why kill Detroit? Why speak death over Detroit in the media? Why attempt to symbolically murder Detroit like Detroit 187? Well, we're going to try to get that in here in these last final minutes. And where's the blood? Detroit has one of the largest Muslim populations next to the Middle East. The black population here, the Israelite population here, is 80 to 90%. And its importance to the North American Union and to martial law can be symbolized by the iron fist that we have downtown. It's supposed to be Joe Louis' fist, but that iron fist represents ruling with an iron fist, the New World Order, the police state, RoboCop, you know, putting the police down in a special way here in the city. And Red Dawn was also symbolic of that, because I remember being downtown and they actually had the tanks, the prop tanks on the streets in Detroit. So, the American Dad Black Villain episode, Season 8, Episode 13. Season 8, Episode 13. Black Villain comes from Detroit. Stan chases him back to Detroit to try to find him. He's supposed to be holed up in a beauty salon here or whatever. And Black Villain uses a harp-like weather machine to cause a tsunami or some great damage to the city of Detroit. You end up seeing the GM building, or the Renaissance building was what we grew up knowing it as. Y'all call it the GM building today. GM still Masonic Grandmaster. But you see that building floating in the water as Black Villain has flooded everything. And I maintain that that has to do with the back of the $5 bill and vanishing on 7th Street. There will be something like a chemical bomb, because they don't want to destroy the infrastructure. They want these houses. They want this land. And when I say they, I'm not talking black and white. I'm talking the powers that be. And they will use black devils to largely accomplish this plan, like they did with Mayor Beam, who is Boulay, also a member of the celebrity elite. And we know how they work with the Illuminati, and we know how all entertainment works with the CIA. It has always been co-opted by the CIA since the very beginning. So I maintain that if you watch a movie like Vanishing on 7th Street, which starred Hayden Christensen, Anakin Skywalker, you know, George Lucas only lets his darlings star in certain types of movies, and he starred in this movie along with John Leguizamo, another odd actor. And this movie, Vanishing on 7th Street, is about some odd chemical mist that has all of the people in Detroit disappearing, and they're trying to figure out why. So I just wanted to bring these things to your attention, just some food for thought. I love y'all. Peace and blessings. My brother Jay had to go take care of some business right quick. I want to thank Little Jay for doing this thing with the camera. I think Jay might be able to come back down and say goodbye to you good people, and give a good shout out to GorillaShark here. And I want to thank y'all all for listening. Keep your eyes out, because it's not just a Detroit thing. I don't want y'all to think this guy's always on the Detroit tip, but it's got to do with, if they can do it to us in our city, they can do it to you in your city. So you better be watchful of the plots and the plans concerning your city and the great work, bringing chaos to order, destroying America and rebuilding America. It's symbolic of what's going to happen all over America. If it happens to Detroit, the center of industry for America,
and the blackest city in the country.
Yeah, you know, aside from that, then you guys need to maybe be mindful of some different ways that they do sacrifices beside Jay-Z and Beyonce. Brother Jay, you want to tell people a little bit about GorillaShark or how they can get in touch with you?
Y'all can go to GorillaSharkClothing.com, GorillaShark Clothing, Facebook. You can check us out there. Mainly, just stay focused though. You know what I'm saying? Check me out, but make sure you staying focused too. Check me out after you do some research, some history. Get you a GorillaShark shirt. And then, if you're a supporter of Detroit, or if you're a Detroiter, we want you to give us your support as well for the business endeavors and different things that the people of the city are still here trying to do, despite efforts to speak death over our city. You have some very live brothers like my man Jay, putting together great projects like GorillaShark. Here's one of their top-selling products over there, the 7 Mile Detroit Made shirt. And everybody be blessed, and thanks for listening. Shalom.